Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Bob. Avril Rowlands and her husband Christopher are a couple that live in a small village in England. They retired out of London and moved to the countryside, and they picked a small village, so small in fact, it's one of the few towns in all of England that has no traffic lights of any kind, whether it's stoplights or turning signals or any kind of municipal lighting. It's known as one of the darkest towns in all of England. Well, they moved 30 years ago to this small village, and on their first Christmas, they had always seen these lit up Christmas trees, and now that they had a house with some land, they were excited and they went out and purchased a small Christmas tree, 3 or 4 feet tall. And they kept it in their house during the season and they really enjoyed it. And so because it was a live tree, instead of throwing it out, after Christmas was over, they planted it in their front yard. And over the years, they would decorate it with lights, and it grew and grew and grew every year, more than a foot a year. And every year they would decorate it with lights. And after a few years, when it had really grown substantially, it became kind of the beginning of the Christmas season for this village. And so all of the villagers would come out, and so for the turning on of the Christmas tree, and that signaled the Christmas season. Well, that got bigger and bigger each year until last year. COVID restrictions meant that only Avril and her husband Christopher were there to turn on the lights, and then they broadcast that to their friends and neighbors. But this year, with COVID restrictions loosened, neighbors were able to at least come and stand at a distance and again watch the spectacle of the turning on of the Christmas lights. There's a huge story in that really grabbed me, because we celebrate the birth of Christ on December 25th. That date was chosen not because we know for a fact that that was the birth date of Christ, but because that date was chosen to coincide with some of the darkest days of the year. The winter days are when the nights grow longer, and that might not mean much to us in this day with electricity and lighting of all sorts, but it meant a lot in the time of Christ. And the darkness was when evil was thought to set in, and it was scary and it was frightening and things could happen. And so they chose some of the shortest days of the year, some of the darkest days, to celebrate the birth of Christ, to make the proclamation, the light of the world has come in the midst of darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. We proclaim the light of Christ. And just like the Rowlands, who bring light to their dark village, we're called to reflect the light of Christ wherever we are. We are to shine the light of the love of Christ. It's not about a certain day. We're supposed to reflect the light of Jesus Christ throughout our lives. I hope that you would remember the Rowlands and their beautifully lit Christmas tree, and remember the light of Christ that has come into the world. Whether you faced times of darkness, or you're carrying the light of others who are facing those dark times, remember the light that has come into the world and the darkness has not overcome it. Have a great day.